Hi, welcome to my channel. This is my first video and I'm really excited to be sharing and detailing stories of missing people in Aotearoa. There is 11,000 people roundabout that get reported missing each year, and currently just under 600 remain unfound. So I will be sharing the stories of these people who remain missing, hopefully generating more information that will come out. Maybe hopefully we will find some of these people who remain missing, and today we will be detailing the disappearance of Jason Butler. While I was researching this case, I started getting very angry at the organizations that have failed this person and their family and their friends, their community, in finding Jason, because I'm sure you will also get angry as well when I detail what has happened in this case. I have to mention that I will be talking about mental health related topics, so if that's not something that you would like to listen to right now, please click out of this video, take care of yourself, and hopefully another one of my uploads will be better suited to you. I just want to begin by saying that this video is for educational and investigative purposes only. Our goal here is to present the facts, explore the details, and develop a greater understanding of the truth. This case we're discussing today involves real people, families, and communities that are forever impacted by these events. As we explore these stories, thoughtful discussion is encouraged, but cruelty and disrespect will not be tolerated. Please keep the comments respectful. Jason Butler, at the time of his disappearance in 2021, was 50 years old and resided in Whanau in the Bay of Plenty with his extended family in a shipping container. He actually lived further away from them on their property, but they decided to move his shipping container closer to them so they could be near each other. And we'll kind of discuss why further on in the video. It is said that while Jason did not have a lot of belongings, he lived a rich life when it came to his whanau. He kept a box of photos and other important belongings under his bed, and on the walls of his shipping container he wrote the names of his family members with his sister's name, Huia, right at the top, saying she was like a mother to him. His daughter Marta said that her dad was her everything, and also said, quote, "Time with dad mattered the most to me. We didn't have to be doing anything, just being there with each other. And he didn't matter to many people, but he was everything to me." She also said that he always had time for her and her granddaughter, and you could just find them by the water sharing a meal together and spending quality time together. He had a dry sense of humor and was a man of few words, but just with a little bit of time with him, you would be able to tell that he was very down to earth and family oriented. He loved to laugh and he loved to spend time with his family and really kept what mattered most closest to him. When Jason was 24, he returned back to New Zealand from Australia, where his family still currently resides, so his parents and sister still live in Australia. And when he moved back to New Zealand, his mental health was quite precarious at this time, and it had plagued most of his adult life, especially while living rough for a period of time and falling in and out of relationships. With his close family overseas, his sister Huia would always make sure that he was well looked after. She sent him money and even bought him a phone so that they could stay in constant contact. While Jason was living in Whanau in the Bay of Plenty, he was said to be quite content with his life. He spent his time fishing and babysitting for his extended family that he lived near. As Jason was described to be happy around this time, his sister Huia has recounted memories where they were just out spending time together, which is really nice that she has those memories. Unfortunately, sometime before Jason's disappearance, he was involved in a quad bike accident which saw him admitted to hospital with a head injury. Once Jason returned home from the hospital with his support worker, it was clear that he wasn't the same as he was before the accident. It is said that he was verbally disrespectful towards Huia, his sister, which she says that this was unlike him and he was never like this towards her. So he definitely changed after this accident. His mental health was bad before this, but it had definitely declined after this accident. Jason was subsequently admitted to the Whakatane Hospital under the Mental Health Act on October the 8th of 2021. Health professionals believed that he was in a month-long psychosis episode and with treatment and medication he was said to have improved. And because of this, he no longer fit the criteria and was to be discharged the next day. The same night as this reassessment, he became violent suddenly, was punching the walls, and obviously he was not fit to be released, but the mental health professionals at this facility had actually told him that he can discharge himself that night, and he ended up discharging himself at 11:30 p.m. So that night he discharged himself and went to go retrieve his belongings that he was carrying when he was admitted to Whakatane Hospital. And they told him that they did not have his belongings, and he asked again and they denied him once again. And his sister Huia said that he would have felt really agitated and confused because he didn't know how to get back home. He didn't have a phone with him because that was on his person when he was admitted to the hospital. He didn't have a wallet with him because that was also in his belongings. So he had absolutely no belongings with him. Somehow he made it home, and I think it was his cousin that he was living with, was angry because Jason was supposed to be in the hospital. He just wasn't acting himself, and his family weren't even notified when he had discharged himself. So his family had no idea what was going on. And 7 days after he had discharged himself, a mental health support worker was supposed to come to his house and have a meeting with him, discuss, how he was going, but this never ended up happening. I also want to mention that he was not given any medication or treatment plan following being discharged from Whakatane Hospital. New Zealand is infamous for having a horrible mental health system. I'm sure many of you know or have been through this yourself. When you call the mental health hotline or any kind of mental health related numbers, you get told to run a hot bath and make a cup of tea, and hopefully it will be okay in the morning after a good night's sleep. New Zealand's mental health system has to change because stuff like this probably wouldn't have happened if these failings never occurred. Within days of when this follow-up appointment should have happened, Jason was taken on an unapproved work trial overnight in the Haparapara River area in the Rakumura Ranges. So a Department of Conservation or DOC contractor took him into this area overnight on a work trial on the 23rd of October 2021. His sister Huia at this time states that he was at the worst physical and mental health of his life, and when he was taken into the bush, he didn't have any safety equipment. Jason was inappropriately dressed as he was only wearing a sleeveless coat, pants, boots, and sunglasses. And he didn't even have any safety equipment with him. He didn't have a radio or beacons or any kind of survival equipment to navigate or survive in this bush overnight. He didn't even have any food. He only had a bottle, which he later filled up in a stream in the area that they were going into to do this work. And this contractor stated that he last saw Jason filling up this water bottle, and he went ahead and called out to Jason a few times, thinking that he would just catch up to him, but he never did. The contractor emerged from the bush the following day and waited an entire 4 days to report Jason's disappearance to his company that he worked for, which was Nga Whenua Rahui. This organization then took 14 days to report Jason's disappearance to the Department of Conservation or DOC. That's an entire 2 weeks since Jason went missing. WorkSafe was then notified 139 days after Jason had disappeared. WorkSafe is New Zealand's primary health and safety regulator in the workplace, and they ensure that work is being performed safely. So that's nearly 5 months after Jason went missing that WorkSafe was notified of this event. Police search and rescue teams searched for 11 days and also enlisted the help from locals. Detective Senior Sergeant Paul Wilson stated that in this search they used a helicopter, drones, and inflatable boats that were capable of navigating the rivers in this area. It's said that the terrain in the Rakumura Ranges is incredibly hard to navigate, and if I'm going to post a picture of this, the sprawling mountains, how is one person without safety equipment supposed to navigate this overnight in the dark? Huia states that police stopped their searches because of incorrect sightings of her brother, but her family and the community continued to search for 38 days straight, regardless of weather conditions. And they didn't have any of this equipment that the police had access to, so it was just them on foot searching for their loved one. Aside from 2 articles of clothing, no trace of Jason was found during these searches. Despite this, Jason's sister Huia requests answers from those responsible for her brother's disappearance and the failings of these organizations. She has utilized social media quite a lot in getting the word out there of her brother's disappearance. That's how I found out about this case. She also states that police did absolutely nothing within the first year of their investigation until she got involved with the media, because that's when his story was really being shared around a lot more, and also the COVID restrictions had eased, so she was able to come back to New Zealand and continue to share his story. In one interview with Sunday, Connie Norgate, who is the Nga Whenua Rahui director, was asked questions about Jason's disappearance, and in my research I found that she was only in the role for 4 months at this time, I believe, but when she was attempting to answer one of these questions, she seemed a little bit flustered, and she asked to take a breath and have a drink and try and get her answers straight, which seemed pretty odd to me, considering she was doing all of these media appearances and talking about Jason's disappearance and all of these facts pertaining to the case, but she didn't really know what to say. And it just struck me as being a little bit weird. She seemed a little bit unprepared to be answering these questions. It seems as though Nga Whenua Rahui doesn't know enough about what happened under their own supervision. And she didn't really have any answers as to how it could be prevented in the future. In 2023, around 2 years after Jason's disappearance, Huia sent an email to the police in the area investigating Jason's disappearance, asking them for an update in the case. It wasn't until March 20th of the following year, so 2024, that she got a response, and they said that there has been no progression in the case. They claimed that they had a staffing issue and there was no more available resource in the Eastern Bay of Plenty. They gave a reasoning for the lack of resources, which was that there was an increased crime rate in the area around the time of Jason's disappearance and also following Jason's disappearance. And then before this, they said that it was the White Island volcanic eruption. This same month, Area Commander Nicola Cooney told the local Democracy Reporting that the town was not short of police, and they had 12 frontline staff, a sergeant and a senior sergeant, and also staff were being deployed from Whakatane to help with the area and the increased rate of crime, and there was at least 2 staff members per shift. Opotiki Mayor David Moore wants to know why police aren't doing more to investigate Jason's disappearance, and he said that they're not even really looking into it. I find it interesting that they say that they don't have enough resources to look into Jason's disappearance, but they had made that statement to the local Democracy Reporting. Detective Senior Sergeant Paul Wilson states that the investigation is still ongoing, and they have plans to do more scene examinations, but from my research I haven't really found much information on this, except for the fact that they did some that were conducted around October 2024, but the results could not be disclosed due to the integrity of the investigation. Jason's case, a year after his disappearance, was passed on to the coroner, and this is unusual for a case to be referred to a coroner this early in a missing persons case. The coroner chose to open an inquiry for certain reasons, but can't begin until the police complete their investigation. I also think it's worth mentioning that it's unusual also for the coroner to get involved when police had also said previously that Jason could have left the bush at some point during this disappearance because of his transient lifestyle, because he liked to hitchhike and walk places, because he didn't really have a reliable form of transport, and they're kind of just making excuses at this point for saying that he had left the bush at some point in his disappearance. So by now, as you can tell, we are developing a recurring theme of excuses. Jason's family have requested answers from the organizations that have failed him, but they say that they don't want to overlap with the coroner. But the coroner can't even begin his inquest until the police complete their investigation. Huia has also made a complaint with the ombudsman regarding Doc, Nga Whenua Rahui, Te Whatu Ora and WorkSafe, and is waiting on the results of complaints that she has lodged with the Independent Police Conduct Authority, or the IPCA in short, and also the Health and Disability Commissioner. An investigator was assigned to the IPCA complaint, and as a result of this, the police were given a deadline to have the investigation completed by, which is December 2024. Huia said that although this is what she and her family had been waiting 3 years for, she didn't have high hopes that police would complete their investigation by this deadline. Huia said, quote, "For us to hear the police say they have a time frame of December doesn't really mean anything too much to us at the moment." And as of the recording of this video, which is nearly March 2025, there has been no update in the completion of this investigation by police. Additionally, a serious incident review by Te Whatu Ora stated that at the time that Jason was discharged, he showed no suicidal intent. The health agency has since described his disappearance as a suspected suicide. Jason's family outright refused these findings and said that they need to redo this, and they did another 3 times, and ultimately it was rejected by the family again because they simply do not believe that this was a suicide. It was a failing by multiple organizations. These health organizations had the responsibility to make sure that a human being remained safe and cared for, and they don't even know how to properly explain or atone for these failings. This report is incredibly contradictory, and it's clear that they just want to sweep this under the rug and forget it ever happened. His sister Huia said, "To these agencies, to the government, to the police, he's just a statistic, a number to them." Last year, in October 2024, his family unveiled a plaque in his memory, and it was placed between his uncle and grandfather. A second plaque has been laid in Australia where his family overseas can go to remember him, and his parents also would like to have their ashes interred in this area so that they can be close to their son. While Jason is presumed to be deceased, his mother still can't reconcile with the concept that she doesn't know where he is. And she says, "I think that because they haven't found him, I still haven't accepted that he's gone." The dock contractor is still walking around as he pleases, and he hasn't faced any repercussions for what he's done. Nobody has been held responsible, and with the police not even meeting their deadline for when their investigation was supposed to be complete by, who is to ensure that Jason's family gets the closure that they need? And who is supposed to ensure that Jason gets the justice that he deserves? Huia says that her brother never had any standing in the community, and he wasn't important enough for police or government agencies to care. She says he's not a priority, he's just a statistic, just a number, and not worth the effort, and it makes her sick. And I have to agree. This is someone's son, someone's father, someone's cousin, someone's uncle, someone's brother, someone's loved one, someone's friend. And he deserves justice, and all of these people deserve closure for what has happened. We will be getting into the financial aspect of this case, and it really has made me angry because a lot of money is being thrown around and it's being allocated to different areas. And it seems like the areas that it's being allocated to, these things are worth more than the disappearance of this person. The year before Jason's disappearance, the Department of Conservation was given a $34 million investment to restore the Rakumura Ranges, which is where Jason had disappeared. This entails pest control, improving soil health and vegetation growth, culling of goat and deer, carbon monitoring, and more. It will also benefit the community by giving job opportunities and experience. So what I found interesting about this is they didn't make any attempt to pause this restoration project when Jason went missing, and I wonder whether that could have impacted any possibility of finding items of interest relating to his disappearance. And in my personal opinion, it seems to me like the government cares more about saving the trees than saving a living, breathing person. Because $34 million was spent on restoring this bush area, but police had actually refused to pay for a helicopter in the search for Jason, and also refused to pay for heat sensing equipment, and Jason's family had to pay for the helicopter themselves. I didn't even come across in my research whether the project directors knew of Jason's disappearance, if they told any of their contractors of his disappearance, and whether they should be on the lookout for any items of interest or anything that could help in the search for Jason. Another point that I find worth mentioning is that another disappearance occurred just 5 hours west of this area in the Waikato. I'm sure everyone at this point has heard of the 3 Matakapa kids that have been abducted by their father and taken into the bush. Understandably, because these are 3 children that have gone missing and it's been years since their disappearance, it has garnered a lot of media attention and the public's attention, and I will make a separate video exploring the details of this case, but for now we're just going to be talking about the financial differences in these disappearances. While I am speaking on the disappearance of the Matakapa kids, I have to mention that these kids have done absolutely nothing wrong and are victims of abduction and captives of a wanted fugitive that has a warrant out for his arrest, and they deserve to be found safe, and the family deserves justice for what they have been put through. Tom Phillips, the father of these 3 children, has actually abducted these kids once before, and the abduction lasted for 19 days. Tom Phillips was later charged with wasteful deployment of police resources, but he failed to appear in court. During the ongoing second abduction, he has robbed a bank and actually has 4 charges against him at this time. And what I find interesting is the police have been looking for these 4 people around the same time that they've been looking for Jason, or allegedly been looking for Jason. The reported costs are now in the high hundreds of thousands, and an estimated $4,192 was spent on renting just 1 Eagle helicopter. The police even had the audacity to record $153 spent at a McDonald's during the searches. It's reported that during the first disappearance, so the one that lasted for 19 days, the cost is estimated to be in the hundreds of thousands. There was also an $80,000 reward issued for the information that could lead to the safe return of these children, and that was in June 2024. I understand that the disappearances occurred in different areas, but ultimately the government and the high police officials have control over what happens with these missing people's cases. I have found in my research that multiple helicopters have been used in the search for the Matakapa kids, and even a Air Force helicopter and a plane have been used in these searches, but the police couldn't even pay for 1 helicopter in the search for Jason. In an interview on TVNZ's Q&A on Sunday, outgoing Police Commissioner Andrew Costa said there was no need for an instruction to be given by police to the Prime Minister to get the Defence Force involved in the search, and police has ready access on request for support from the Defence Force. The kids were spotted walking through a Waikato farmland in October of 2024, and that confirmation that the kids are alive and the family know roughly where they are and what is happening in the case, I'm sure is somewhat a relief to them amidst the fear for their safety and hope for their long-awaited return, a feeling that Jason's family had not experienced at any point during his disappearance. I want to thank Jason's sister Huia for allowing me to ask her questions privately pertaining to the case, for being in support of the creation of this video, and for giving Jason a voice when nobody else was advocating for him. I would also like to ask you to join the New Zealand Missing Persons page on Facebook, where Huia regularly updates the followers on her brother's case. I will link that down below, and you can find other missing persons cases on that page as well. I find it very informative, and it details a lot of cases that normally we wouldn't hear about in the media because they just get swept under the rug. And anyone who has information regarding Jason's whereabouts should call 105 referencing file number 211027/1881 or job number P048415575. And I'd like to end this video with a montage of pictures of Jason, because we need to remember that these people are real people, and it's not just a story. It's not just a true crime story. This is a real person with family and friends and a community that miss him. That is it for my first video. I hope you guys liked it, and if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment, and hopefully I'll see you in another video.